That night, as the family gathered around the dinner table, Ethan stood up, raised his glass of wine, and calmly announced that he was divorcing me to be with my own sister. The room went completely silent. My mother dropped her spoon, my father stared in disbelief, and me? I simply smiled and said softly, "Everyone, please check your email right now." And in that moment, every secret in that house began to collapse. The sound of laughter and clinking silverware echoed softly through the candlelit room. The scent of roasted meat, warm bread, and red wine mingled in the air. It was my father's 65th birthday, an evening that seemed warm, ordinary, and familiar, just like dozens of other family dinners before it. Ethan, my husband, was telling a funny story from the hospital, making everyone at the table laugh until they could barely breathe. He always knew how to make people like him gentle, charming, composed. I looked at him, that same familiar face, those expressive eyes, that comforting smile. But behind it, something made my heart turn cold. Suddenly, Ethan tapped his spoon against his wine glass. "Everyone, may I have your attention for a minute?" he said, his voice low and strangely calm. The chatter died instantly. Every eye turned toward him. "Claire and I are getting a divorce." The air froze. I heard the sound of my mother's spoon clattering against her plate, the sharp inhale of my sister, Lily, sitting right beside him. My father frowned, and the rest of the family glanced at each other in confusion. Then Ethan took a deep breath. "Lily and we've fallen in love. I didn't move. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply lifted my glass of water, looked around the table, and smiled faintly. "Everyone, please check your email, right now." Another wave of silence swept through the room. The soft glow from the phones began to light up one by one, and I knew, in that instant, they would never look at me the same way again. They say that when you're happy, time slips by so quickly you don't even notice it leaving. And I was happy, or at least, I believed I was. 8 years ago, on a dazzling evening at a hospital charity gala, I met Ethan. He stood in the crowd, not to draw attention, but to make a little girl in a wheelchair laugh. In his black tuxedo, he didn't look like a doctor attending a formal event. He looked like someone who genuinely loved doing good. In that moment, I thought, this is someone I can trust. "Are you smiling at me too?" Ethan asked, half joking when he caught my gaze. "I was, but only because your story was so bad she had to laugh out of pity," I replied, trying to hide my grin. He tilted his head and smiled. "Then I'm lucky, because you just pitied me a second time." We talked all night. There were no fireworks, no dramatic music, just two people looking at each other and finding peace. A year later, our wedding was held in the garden behind my parents' house. Beneath the old oak tree, I wore a white dress. He held my hand and whispered, "I can't promise I'll always be right, but I promise I'll always be honest." I believed him, deeply, completely. We bought an old house in the suburbs, the kind with white wooden windows and a gray-tiled roof. On weekends, we painted the walls, changed the tiles, argued about curtain colors. Ethan liked navy blue. I preferred light gray. In the end, we chose a third color, a pale sky blue, like an autumn afternoon. "You always win," he said, smiling, paint on his hands. "No," I teased, "I'm just right." Mornings smelled of coffee and the sound of his rough singing echoing through the kitchen. Ethan couldn't sing to save his life, but he sang anyway, and I listened because in those off-key notes, there was a safety I had never known. He often left little notes for me. "Today will be better, because you're in it. Don't work too hard, my detective." I was a digital forensics analyst. I lived among numbers and traces. He lived among children's laughter and the glow of operating lights. Two different worlds, yet somehow they fit perfectly together. There were nights I came home late, exhausted from a long, draining case. He'd cleaned up, reheated dinner, and just sat quietly beside me. No advice, no fixing, just a hand in mine and the right kind of silence. I used to think that if marriage were a piece of music, we were the perfect harmony, two notes forming one gentle melody, until Lily came back. That night, my phone rang while I was finishing a report. My sister's trembling voice came through the line. "Claire, this road, I don't think it's leading anywhere." I remember the sound of buses in the background, people passing by, Lily's shaky breath. She was the kind who had dropped out of college, moved between cities 5 times, always saying she was trying to find herself only to get lost again. "Come home, Lily," I said. "Stay with me for a while, okay?" There was silence, then a small sob. "I don't want to bother Ethan. He'll understand. Your family." That night, when I told Ethan, he paused, lifting his eyes from his medical journal. "Are you sure? Lily can be impulsive." "Just for a while," I smiled. "She needs space to breathe." He studied me for a few seconds, then smiled softly. "If you want it, I want it too." I thought that was compassion, understanding, but in truth, that was the very first crack, thin, invisible, like a hairline fracture on the mirror of our happiness. I didn't know then that the man who once promised to always be honest would be the first to turn our marriage into a perfect illusion. And Lily, the fragile little sister I wanted to protect, was about to walk into our home, not as a guest, but as a storm, carrying the scent of something about to break. The day Lily rolled her silver suitcase into our house. It was lightly raining. The sound of the wheels against the wooden floor was soft, like a careful breath. She said she'd stay just a few months, her voice a mix of embarrassment and relief, like someone finally allowed to rest after a long streak of failures. "Claire, I just need a place to sleep. A small corner, really." I smiled, lifting her suitcase upstairs. "Every corner here is yours. Don't be shy." Ethan stood nearby, coffee cup in hand, glancing briefly at me before nodding. "Yeah, stay here until you get back on your feet. This house is big enough for 3. But the space meant for 3 people began to shift from that day on. At first it was little things. Ethan started coming home later, the usual excuses. Long surgeries, last-minute consultations. And Lily began going out more for a walk, to grab groceries, to catch up with an old friend, always taking longer than she needed to. Once, I teased her. "Did you go shopping or explore the whole city?" 3 hours, and you only brought home flowers and yogurt?" Lily grinned. The cashier was too cute. I had to wait while he wrapped everything perfectly. Ethan chuckled, glancing sideways at her. "Cute cashier, huh? Let me guess, messy hair, soft-spoken, like someone out of a French film?" "Exactly," Lily replied, laughing. And they both burst out laughing together. I laughed too, but something inside me shifted, faint and cold. That evening, I worked in my study, while their voices floated from the kitchen, low laughter, the soft clink of cups, the occasional clatter of cutlery. When I stepped out, they went silent. "What's so funny?" I asked lightly. Ethan turned around, casual as ever. "I was just telling Lily about my first surgery. I was so nervous the head surgeon had to breathe for me." Lily giggled. "You should have heard him, Claire. He tells it like a comedy scene." I nodded with a polite smile. "Sounds hilarious," I said, then returned to my room, carrying with me a heaviness I couldn't name. My best friend, Tasha, was the first to notice. We were having lunch at our usual place when she glanced up from her phone. "Why is your sister calling your husband so often lately?" I looked up. "Are you secretly managing my household calendar?" "No need to," she said dryly. "I saw 3 missed calls from her on his phone when we went out the other day, and every time it was nothing important." I laughed, trying to sound relaxed. "They're just close. Lily likes asking him about health stuff, nutrition, random things." Tasha propped her chin on her hand, eyes sharpening. "Claire, be careful. No woman needs a personal doctor at home, especially when that doctor's her sister's husband. I shook my head, forcing a smile. You're overthinking. Ethan would never. Tasha shrugged, stabbing a piece of salad. I hope I'm wrong. But I've seen too many stories that started with harmless phone calls. That night, I came home earlier than usual. The kitchen door was slightly open. Lily's voice drifted out soft, but clear enough to hear. I just want you to tell me the truth. If she weren't my sister, would you love me? I froze, and then Ethan's voice low, careful. Lily, don't say that. Are you drunk? Her quiet laugh followed. Maybe I am, drunk on wine, or maybe on the way you look at me. I pushed the door open gently. They were standing a few steps apart, the warm light making the room glow in a way that felt almost intimate. When they saw me, both smiled a little too quickly, a little too forced, but convincing enough to fool anyone who wanted to believe. Just talking about old times? Ethan said smoothly. Lily was asking about my residency days. I nodded calmly, pouring myself a glass of water. Must have been funny I heard laughter all the way upstairs. It was! Lily chimed in. Did you know Ethan almost fainted at the sight of a needle once? Ethan groaned. Hey, that's classified information. I smiled faintly, though my throat felt tight. Sounds hilarious, I said. That night, I lay awake listening to the steady ticking of the clock. Ethan slept soundly beside me, breathing evenly. And I told myself over and over, you're just tired. That's all. Just tired. But in the days that followed, they began to have their own little things. Lily asked Ethan to drive her to work because her car broke down. Ethan helped Lily with yoga because her shoulders hurt. And me, the wife, the woman who shared the same roof, slowly became an observer, standing at the edge of my own home. One afternoon, I saw them in the backyard. Ethan was tying Lily's hair. Just a simple gesture, yet the way he looked at her, gentle, focused, made the world around them blur. I stood quietly on the porch. Lily turned, saw me, blinked, then smiled and waved. Claire, come look at the roses. Ethan says they're the best they've bloomed in years. I smiled back, stepping down. They are beautiful. Even the flowers know how to pick the right place to bloom. Ethan turned to me, a flicker of unease in his eyes. I was just helping Lily, her hair got tangled. I nodded. You've always been good at untangling things. Lily's smile faltered. She turned away. Ethan said nothing. The wind passed between us, carrying the faint scent of roses and something else, something smoldering just beneath the surface. That night, Tasha called. You okay? I'm fine. Fine how? The kind of fine where you still trust people. Tasha sighed. Claire, people are only honest when they have nothing to hide. Don't let your trust become their hiding place. I said nothing. Some words, even over the phone, can sink straight into your chest. Later that night, I sat before my computer screen. Streams of data rolled past my familiar world of numbers and codes. But in the reflection of the monitor, I saw what I'd been avoiding. I had all the tools to uncover anyone's truth. I just hadn't used them on my own. I looked over at Ethan, sleeping peacefully. And from the other room, through the thin wall, Lily's faint humming drifted through the quiet. A smile curved my lips, but it wasn't the smile of someone who trusts anymore. It was the smile of someone who has begun to doubt. That night, the rain poured down hard. It drummed against the glass windows like a steady warning I couldn't yet decipher. Ethan said he had to work an overnight shift at the hospital, an emergency surgery. I believed him, as I always did. I sat in my study, the desk lamp casting a small circle of light over unfinished reports. My phone had died, and I needed to send an urgent document. I looked around. My laptop was still at the office. In the corner stood Ethan's computer. I hesitated for just a second. Only 1 second. Then I lifted the lid. The screen flickered on. The browser was open, his email inbox, still logged in. And at the very top was a message, with a short subject line. Just 2 words. Last night. The sender. Lily. I hadn't meant to open it. I swear I hadn't. But the blue glow of those words seemed to pull my hand forward. When people sense darkness creeping toward them, they often seek proof, not of the truth, but of reassurance. That's what I thought I was looking for, but what I found was hell. Last night was amazing. I can still feel your hand on my shoulder. I don't know how I'm going to hide this look in my eyes when I see her. I read it, and it felt like every word carved into my skin. Below it was Ethan's reply, short, clipped, urgent. I can't hide it either. We have to be more careful. I don't want to hurt her. Not until everything is ready. I stopped there. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. I just sat in silence, the kind of silence that thickens the air before a storm breaks. I scrolled down. Older emails, messages time-stamped from 2 years ago. Before Lily called me crying at the bus station, saying she'd failed and just wanted to come home. Before I opened my arms to welcome her back. It had all been an act, a perfect performance. I read everything. Each line cut deep, yet with every wound came clarity. Every inconsistency I had ignored suddenly stitched itself together. Every late night at work, every glance that lingered too long, every laugh from the kitchen that I had mistaken for joy. All of it rewritten under one brutal headline: Betrayal. I closed the laptop and sat still in the dark. The rain kept falling. Inside me, something shattered, not loudly, not violently, but like glass beads quietly scattering across the floor. Then I heard the front door open. Ethan came in, his raincoat dripping. "You're still up?" he asked, sounding tired. "I needed to send an email." "I used your computer," I said, my voice soft, calm, almost too calm. He smiled, setting his bag down. "Working this late again? You never know when to stop." I looked at him, that familiar face, those gentle eyes, once the safest place I knew. Now, just a mask. "How was your shift?" I asked. "Rough. A little girl came in sick. I stayed until 9. I nodded slowly, my eyes never leaving his. "I believe you." He smiled, leaned down to kiss my forehead. "I know you always do." When he went to shower, I opened the drawer and took out my phone. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't ache anymore. Only one thing stirred inside me, cold, sharp, and unmistakable: survival. I was someone trained to read digital footprints, to trace secrets buried under layers of encrypted code. I had uncovered truths others thought could never be found. And now, the most important case of my life was my marriage. I opened a new folder on his computer. Case 734, Internal Investigation. A blank file appeared. I began to type. Date, time, location, evidence. The first time I found their email. The first time Lily called Ethan the only one who understands me. The first time he wrote, "We need to be more careful." Each detail recorded. No emotion, no tears, only data. The sound of water in the bathroom stopped. Ethan came out, towel in hand, smiling. "Tomorrow, I was thinking we could have lunch together, get some fresh air." I smiled faintly. "Sure, I'm free tomorrow." Then I turned away, hiding the eyes of a woman who had just turned her pain into a weapon. From the moment Claire saw those words of betrayal on the screen, it was as if she'd stepped through a doorway into a place where her heart no longer existed to love, but to observe. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She didn't smash anything or confront anyone. She simply switched modes, from betrayed wife to investigator. The next morning, Ethan still brewed his coffee, and Lily came down wearing a shirt. Claire recognized instantly her husband's. "I just borrowed it," Lily said lightly. "It's cold." Ethan chuckled. "Go ahead. What's mine is everyone's here." Claire took a sip of coffee, her gaze drifting calmly between them, as if she were studying a crime scene. "Are you on call again tonight?" "Yeah," Ethan said. "Bone marrow transplant. Might be a late one." "Then take care of yourself," she replied. "I left some black coffee with a little sugar in the flask." He smiled. "You're always so thoughtful." A month ago, that line would have warmed her. Now, it registered merely as another data point. That night, when the house fell quiet, Claire opened a drawer and took out her external hard drive, the same one she used for digital recovery projects. She began to collect everything: bank statements, GPS logs, dashcam footage, even online receipts. Every line, every timestamp, every IP address. Each time she found a discrepancy, like Ethan said he was at the hospital but his phone's GPS showed him at a downtown hotel, she highlighted it in red. Each time his credit card was swiped at a high-end restaurant during the same hour Lily claimed to be visiting an art exhibit, she logged it. Every detail was recorded with the detached precision of someone who had once trusted too deeply. She titled the folder Case 734 Betrayal Evidence. One afternoon, while printing bank records, her best friend Tasha called her on video. "Why do you look like you're tracking a criminal again?" Tasha teased. Claire smiled faintly. "Close enough. But this time, the criminal isn't far." Tasha frowned. "You're giving me chills talking like that." "Don't worry," Claire said softly. "I'm not being reckless." "Claire," Tasha sighed. "Don't be so strong. You end up breaking alone. If you need someone, just say it." Claire was quiet for a moment, then answered, "I don't need pity. I need the truth." In the days that followed, Claire became a shadow inside her own home. By day, she played the part of the composed wife cooking, smiling, asking casual questions. By night, she turned into an unrelenting investigator extracting data, analyzing patterns, connecting threads. One night, she spotted a strange transaction. Ethan had withdrawn $3,000 from their joint account. The note read, "Specialist training expenses." But when she verified with the hospital, she learned he hadn't enrolled in any course. That money, she discovered, went straight into Lily's secondary account. Claire smiled faintly. "Emotional betrayal is one thing," she murmured. "Financial betrayal, that's another crime entirely." They were getting bolder. One afternoon, Claire came home early and saw a pair of men's shoes by the living room door shoes that weren't Ethan's. When she walked in, Ethan and Lily were watching a movie on the couch. "Oh, you're home," Lily said, all innocent surprise. "Yeah," Claire replied. "You said you'd be at the hospital today." Ethan chuckled awkwardly. "Finished early. Lily just wanted to watch something fun." Claire looked at the TV, a French romance film, the kind where the leads embrace in the rain. "Looks beautiful," she said quietly. "It is," Lily answered quickly. "Sad ending, though, but beautiful." Claire smiled. "Just like life. Sometimes the most beautiful moments happen right before everything falls apart." Silence hung for a moment before Ethan forced a laugh and changed the subject. That night, after they'd gone to bed, Claire opened the home security footage. She rewound to the afternoon. 10 minutes before she arrived, Lily had leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder. He hadn't pulled away. Claire paused the frame, the slight touch of shoulders, an intimacy unspoken. Then she pressed capture. Photo number 147 inches her file. Another night, while Ethan showered, his phone buzzed on the table. A message from Lily. "Don't forget to wear the white shirt I love tomorrow. I want you to look like mine." Claire snapped a photo of the screen, then calmly placed the phone back where it was and continued clearing the table as if nothing had happened. She started recording their conversations at home, in the car. Ethan's voice was sometimes warm and familiar, sometimes strained when speaking on the phone. She pieced every fragment together, weaving a map of deceit. One night, when Tasha called again, Claire whispered, "I have enough evidence to ruin them both. What are you going to do?" "I won't fight with tears. I'll let the truth speak for itself." Tasha paused. Aren't you scared? Of course, Claire said softly. But if I don't do this, I'll never recognize myself again. Ethan and Lily, meanwhile, were more confident than ever that Claire suspected nothing. Ethan bought her flowers, cooked dinner to make up for being busy. Lily pretended to be caring, bringing burnt pastries upstairs. I overbaked it a little, but it's still good, Lily said, with a grin. Claire took a bite, nodded. Crispy. Maybe you should open a bakery. Maybe if I can find an investor, Lily replied, her eyes flicking toward Ethan. The words were light as air, but to Claire they echoed like Exhibit #204. She smiled, eyes calm as still water. Investment's a big deal, she said. But pick the wrong partner, and you'll lose both your money and your faith. That night, in her study, Claire opened her data log. Photos, recordings, bank statements, schedules. Everything neatly numbered and organized. Each detail a brick, and she was building a house of truth. One where they would have nowhere left to hide. Outside, laughter drifted from the living room, Ethan and Lily's voices mingling. Claire closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. A long, steady breath, the calm before the storm. The house remained as quiet as ever, except this time, the one who spoke the least was the one who knew the most. Claire had enough evidence, but she wasn't in a hurry. Smart people never strike while their enemies still believe they're safe. That evening, while Ethan sat in the living room reading the newspaper, Claire walked out, holding a cup of tea. Hey, she said softly, her tone light as air. You've seemed busy lately. Everything okay at the hospital? Ethan looked up, a bit surprised by the sudden concern. Nothing unusual. Why do you ask? I just noticed you've been coming home late a lot. Oh, and last week, our credit card had a charge from the Harbor Hotel. I don't remember us being there. A brief silence. Ethan lowered the paper, eyes narrowing slightly. What are you talking about, Claire? Are you checking my credit card now? Not exactly, she said calmly. The statement just came in. He laughed lightly, dismissively, as if it were all a small misunderstanding. Oh God, here we go again. Claire, I swear you really need to learn how to trust more. I work in a hospital. Sometimes we have meetings off-site. It's not a big deal. At a hotel? She asked, eyes steady on his. Ethan smiled, stepped closer, and placed his hand on her shoulder. You know, he said quietly, sometimes you make me more exhausted than my job does. You're smart, but you overthink everything. That's the problem. Just one line. That's the problem. Short, simple, yet sharp enough to make anyone feel guilty, even when they're right. She realized it instantly. He wasn't defending himself, he was flipping the narrative. Claire smiled faintly, gently lifting his hand off her shoulder. I was just asking, not accusing. Don't take it the wrong way. I know, he said. But I need you to trust me more. You know I love you. Yes, she said softly. I know, but inside her, a thin layer of ice had already formed. The next evening, she tested him again. Ethan, Lily said, you're taking her to the grocery store tomorrow instead of me. You've got the time for that? Ethan laughed. She asked. And it's on my way. No big deal. On your way, huh? She said quietly. Like the time you just happened to drop by that beach resort? He raised an eyebrow. Who told you that? I don't need to be told, she said evenly. I saw it. This time, Ethan paused only for a few seconds, then let out a small, practiced laugh. The kind that was smooth, polite, and cold. Claire, I think you really need some rest. You've been so tense lately. You see things and start giving them meaning. Is that so? She asked, her voice calm. Yeah, he said. You're turning me into the villain in your imagination. Gaslighting. She recognized the game instantly. No denial. No confession. just a carefully planted seed making her question her own perception. She looked at him for a long moment. "Maybe you're right," she said finally, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Maybe I just need a long sleep to stop dreaming about things that don't exist." Ethan brushed a strand of hair from her face, his voice soft again. "Exactly. Stop overthinking. I just want you to be happy." "Happy?" she repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Then keep doing the one thing that makes me happiest." "What's that?" "Being honest." He froze just for a second, but she noticed. That night, as Ethan slept beside her, Claire turned her head and watched him. His face looked peaceful, even gentle under the warm yellow light. Anyone else would have thought he was the picture of a devoted husband, but she knew better. Behind that calm exterior was a mind skilled at making people doubt their own emotions. She whispered softly into the darkness. "You want me to think I'm crazy?" "Wrong move, Ethan." "I'm not crazy. I'm awake." Then she turned back to her desk and opened her laptop. Streams of data lit up the screen, reflected in her steady eyes. If he was good at manipulating minds, then she, armed with truth, would master another skill entirely, controlling the narrative. The storm hadn't arrived yet, but the wind had begun to change direction. There are wars that are not fought with weapons but with smiles, and in Claire's house, the smile had become the most sophisticated weapon of all. That morning, Lily walked into the kitchen, holding a basket of fruit neatly wrapped in cellophane. "Hey sis," she said sweetly, her voice dripping with honey. "I bought your favorite Honeycrisp apples. They're only in season this time of year." Claire was pouring coffee when she looked up at her. "You remember I like those?" "Of course. Don't you recall? We used to steal apples from Grandpa's orchard all the time." Lily laughed, carefree and bright. "Right," Claire replied softly. "And who did the stealing first?" "Me, obviously." Lily giggled, oblivious to the sharp undertone in her sister's voice. From the outside, it looked perfectly ordinary, two sisters laughing together in the morning light. Anyone watching would think this was a picture of a happy family. Only Claire knew that every sweet word was stitched together with threads of deceit. That afternoon, Ethan called Claire's mother. "I think you should spend some time with Claire," he said gently. "She's been a little sensitive lately, but I think it's just because I've been planning a surprise for our anniversary. You know how she is, she reads too much into things." Her mother smiled, pleased. "You're such a thoughtful husband. I'll talk to her." That evening, her mother came over, carrying pastries and a bouquet of white roses. "Claire, sweetheart," she began, "I heard you've been anxious lately. Don't overthink things, dear. Ethan just wants to surprise you. I can see how much he loves you. And Lily's been so sweet helping you out with everything." Claire pressed her lips together. "Yes, I know. Everyone loves me, don't they, Mom?" Her mother laughed softly. "Well, you're the lucky one, a good husband, a kind sister. You seem so happy." "Yes," Claire murmured, "happy. I suppose that's true." But in her eyes, the smile never reached. After her mother left, Lily came in, teasing lightly. "Mom just told me she thinks I'm taking such good care of you. I was scared she'd think I was stealing your husband instead." Claire set her teacup down. Her gaze was gentle but sharp enough to cut. "You're not stealing anything," she said softly. "People only steal what doesn't already belong to them." Lily froze for a second, then covered her unease with a nervous laugh. "God, that sounds so dramatic." "I was joking." "Yeah," Claire said quietly. "You're good at jokes." That night, while Ethan was reading in bed, Claire asked, "What did you say to my mom?" "What do you mean?" "I'm just asking." He smiled faintly, setting the book aside. "I just wanted to reassure her. You've been tense lately, and I didn't want her to worry." "Oh, so you were worried about her. What about me?" "I worry about both of you," he said gently. He stepped closer, reaching out to hug her, but Claire moved back ever so slightly. "You know," she said quietly, People sometimes hide their lies behind kindness, but fake kindness, it always leaves a scent. Ethan chuckled, leaning in to kiss her forehead. You sound like you're in a movie. Maybe, she said, her gaze drifting toward the window. And in this movie, you're the lead. Outside, the wind stirred through the lavender garden. On the surface, everything remained tender and sweet, but within the walls of that house, a psychological chess match had already begun. There are some people who, when cornered, don't choose to apologize, they choose to accuse, because nothing terrifies them more than having their true face exposed. Ethan was exactly that kind of man. That morning, Claire came downstairs to find Ethan sitting in front of his laptop, his expression tight. You didn't sleep? She asked softly. No, he replied quickly. I need to talk to you. She pulled out a chair across from him, calm as ever. Go ahead. Ethan sighed, opened his email. I really don't want to believe this, but you should explain it to me. On the screen was a series of emails, subject lines like, Last night was unforgettable. I can't stop thinking about you, see? All sent from Ryan, her close colleague. Claire glanced at the screen. No frown, no smile, just silence. You know I'm not the jealous type, Ethan began, trying to sound measured, but you have to understand how this looks. I saw the photos in the email, too. Ryan took them at that restaurant Friday night. It's pretty clear you two were... Were what? She cut in, voice low but steady. Closer than coworkers should be. She gave a faint, knowing smile. You know what's fascinating about digital forgeries, Ethan? If done well enough, people can even believe the sky's been glued back together. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means whoever made those photos should have picked better software. The shadows are misaligned, and the metadata timestamps don't match. He froze for a brief moment, then recovered, coldly composed. You're trying to defend yourself again. No, she said, voice even. I'm analyzing. The same way I do for clients when I uncover falsified data. Do you remember what my job is, Ethan? Silence. He turned away, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Maybe we should take a break. We both need space. I think I'll stay with Lily for a while. Claire raised an eyebrow, her voice quiet but cutting through the air like glass. With Lily? Yeah, just until things calm down. I don't want us saying things we'll regret. Why not a hotel? Hotels are cold. Lily's understanding. And I don't want your mother to worry. A chess move cloaked in false virtue. Ethan thought she would break down, scream, beg, maybe even throw her coffee in his face. But Claire simply stood up, took a cloth, and began wiping the table, her tone calm, almost conversational. You want a separation? Fine, but sign the acknowledgement papers. It'll make the bank paperwork easier. You're quick, he said, half mocking, half cautious. Women who've been lied to, she replied evenly. Don't move slowly anymore. That night, Ethan packed his things into a suitcase. Lily arrived to pick him up, wearing a white dress, lips painted a soft pink looking every bit the concerned little sister. I'll take care of him. Don't worry, Lily said, her voice sweet and sharp underneath. Claire tilted her head slightly, smiling faintly. Oh, I know you're good at taking care of people. Just make sure you take care of yourself too, especially when he starts getting tired of the truth. Lily flinched, then forced a nervous laugh. You always talk like you're in a movie. Maybe, Claire said softly. But every movie has a climax. Just wait for it, you'll understand. Ethan stepped in, his tone mild. Let's not make this harder than it needs to be. I just want things to stay civil between us. So do I, Claire replied, her eyes steady. That's why I'm letting you go. Sometimes the only way to set someone free is to let them destroy themselves. When the door closed, the house fell still. Claire sat down, unlocked her phone, and opened her email management program. Her fingers moved quickly, a command line sequence. The message popped up. Fake account detected, generated from IP 192.68.4.1. Home network. A quiet smile touched her lips. "Ethan," she whispered, "you may be a doctor, but you still don't understand that lies need stronger encryption." That night, she logged the details into her digital journal. Case 734. Phase 2 counterplay initiated. Beneath that, she typed a private note, one only she would ever read. "When a betrayer thinks he's attacking, let him never realize he's just acting out the victim's script." Claire switched off the light. Outside, the moon hung high, cold, bright, and pure, like the truth itself, waiting patiently to be revealed. The storm had crossed Claire's threshold not to sweep her away, but to teach her how to command the wind. That morning, Claire drove to the corner cafe on 17th Street, the same one where she and Ethan had their first date. But today, the empty chair across from her wasn't for love, it was for an alliance. Frank Mallory, a tall, lean private investigator with eyes sharp as glass, stirred his coffee without looking at it. Naomi Leighton, a divorce attorney with a bob haircut and a voice as clear and cool as a gavel striking wood, sat beside him. Frank was the first to speak. "Heard your husband tried that fake email stunt. Seen this trick before, amateur move. Probably thought copying metadata was enough." Naomi smiled slightly. "Smart women don't fight with knives. They fight with evidence." Claire let out a faint laugh, quiet, but edged with steel. "Well, I've got both evidence and memory. All that's left is to organize them." She opened her case and spread the papers across the table, bank statements, GPS data, hotel invoices, and even a copy of the fake emails Ethan had sent. Frank scanned through them and gave a low whistle. "Enough to make a good lawyer lose sleep. But we need another angle motive. What's he protecting?" "Reputation," Claire said instantly, without hesitation. "And the image of a perfect husband. Ethan's biggest fear is losing the audience for his performance." Naomi nodded. "Then we make him pull the curtain down himself. But remember, the court doesn't deal in morality, only proof. I need you to show deliberate intent to deceive." "How?" Claire asked. Naomi sipped her coffee. "By proving he orchestrated the entire narrative to damage your credibility and cover his affair. If we show he built a false reality, he won't just lose legally, he'll lose the public's faith." Frank leaned back, half serious, half amused. "You know, social media's the harshest courtroom there is. Once the truth gets out, he won't have anywhere to hide. The question is, how far do you want to hit back?" Claire looked out the window, where sunlight spilled across the pavement, a glowing line between silence and retaliation. Her voice was calm, deliberate. "I don't want him to lose everything. I just want him to taste exactly what he served me, public humiliation. But this time, no one will be able to gaslight the truth." Frank grinned and pulled a small USB drive from his pocket. "Here, a copy of Ethan's clinic hard drive I pulled from the internal network. Some of the emails he sent to female partners are intriguing. The public might enjoy learning that their humanitarian doctor was using charity funds to buy gifts for his wife's little sister." Claire looked at the USB, her gaze steady. "I'm not doing this to expose him out of spite. I'm doing it so no one else like me has to live in the dark again." Naomi reached out, her tone softening. "That's exactly why you'll win. A woman seeking justice is far more dangerous than one seeking revenge." They moved on to strategy. Frank would trace the fake account, pulling IP data to confirm Ethan was behind it. Naomi would prepare the legal case, focusing on defamation through fabricated evidence. And Claire, she would take charge of the court of public opinion. "What's your plan?" Naomi asked. Claire smiled. "I have an old blog, Truth in Silence. Thousands once read my posts about gaslighting victims. I'll bring it back, but under a new name. The story will be about a woman betrayed, accused, and then reborn. No names, no direct blame. But anyone who's lied will recognize themselves. Frank chuckled. Brilliant. You don't have to lie, just tell the truth. And truth, well, that's more dangerous than any weapon. As the meeting ended, Naomi gathered her files and said quietly, "You know, Claire, people think divorce means failure, but I see it as rebirth. Don't just walk out of the marriage, walk out of the version of yourself that endured it." Claire met her eyes, smiling softly. "Thank you. I don't want to be the woman who endured anymore. I want to be the one who tells the story, and this time, I'll write the ending myself." When she stepped out of the cafe, a gentle breeze carried the mingled scents of coffee and lavender from the flower shop next door. Claire paused, took out her phone, and sent a message to Frank. "Begin. Let them believe I'm still silent." She slipped the phone back into her bag, lips curving slightly. The storm had quieted, but in that calm, the first counterstrike was already taking shape. Truth sometimes doesn't arrive with a bang. It comes in cold numbers and the click of a mouse. And that night, in a dark room lit only by the blue glow of a laptop, Claire sat upright, eyes fixed on the data table. On the screen, a stream of transactions pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, persistent, and pretending to be innocent. Each month, Ethan withdrew exactly $1,500. Not much, enough not to draw attention. But after 8 months, those amounts added up to more than $10,000. All of it flowed into an anonymous account, opened under the name EM Consulting LLC. Claire let out a soft laugh. A model husband, a devoted doctor, yet he forgot the simplest thing. The office computer's IP still sat on the same internal network as the hospital's systems. She forwarded all the data to Frank. Minutes later, a message came back. "You guessed right. That account links to an auxiliary card registered to Lily Marshall. Same mailing address. The apartment Ethan's staying at." "Claire, thanks. Now I have their contract. I'll pull a cloud copy for you. I'll make sure you get something worth more than the money." The next morning, Claire opened her email and saw a message from Frank with the brief subject line, "Backup restored, you'll want to sit down." She clicked it. Inside were hundreds of messages from Ethan's iCloud backup, the lines unfurled like knives in her skin. "Ethan, she'll never notice. She's always busy pointing out everyone else's flaws. Lily, I feel sorry for her sometimes. But well, who asked her to be so robotic and joyless? Ethan. Exactly. She doesn't know how to enjoy life, or how to be gentle. You're the breath in my life, Lily. And what about your sister? Probably grateful for being freed, right?" Claire stopped on that line and drew a deep breath. Her heart felt like ice cracking, but oddly, after the pain, there was no shaking, only cold clarity. She grabbed her notebook and wrote item by item. Hidden account confirmed accomplice. Messages evidence of insult and mockery. Parallel withdrawals financial motive. She looked at the list, then quietly added a fourth line in bold. Family court publicly reveal the truth. That evening, Claire went to her parents' house. Her mother was watering the plants and brightened at the sight of her daughter. "You're just in time." "I just made chicken soup, Ethan's favorite," her mother said. Claire smiled lightly. "By now, maybe Lily likes it more, Mom." Her mother faltered, voice wavering. "What nonsense are you talking about, Claire? They're only separated, you know." "Separated, yes." Claire placed her bag down and looked straight into her mother's eyes. "But have you ever asked why?" Her mother opened her mouth to speak, but Claire raised her phone. One tap, and the messages between Ethan and Lily flashed on the screen. Her mother went pale. "Oh my God, my child," she trembled. "How long have you been enduring this?" "As long as it took to understand that my silence was my strongest weapon, and now I will use it to finish this." Her mother gripped her hand, eyes rimmed red. "Claire, don't do anything you'll regret." "No, Mom," Claire said slowly, soft but sharp. "I don't want revenge. I only want them to face the truth they've hidden from the world." Late that night, when she returned home, she called Naomi. "We're moving to the next step," she said. "Do you want to file now?" Naomi replied, "No, I'll wait for the upcoming family gathering. My father is throwing a birthday. Everyone will be there. I won't need to say anything. I'll just show them." Naomi's voice dropped. "You're turning dinner into a courtroom?" Claire smiled. "No, a court of justice, where liars must hear the sentence of the truth." She sat at her desk and opened a new folder on her laptop. Case 734, Final Act. She dragged each file in: bank statements, messages, photos, logs. Each file carried a breath of sleepless nights, of the pain she'd packed down. Her hand hovered over the mouse, but this time it did not tremble. "That's enough," she whispered. They wrote the opening. Now it's my turn to write the ending. Outside the window, the rain began, gentle and even, like the heartbeat that had found its calm again. Not because she had forgotten, but because she had taken control. That night, Claire sat before her faded silver laptop, the screen's pale light reflecting in eyes too sharp, too awake. She was no longer the betrayed wife. She had returned to what she truly was, a data investigator, someone who knew how to turn truth into a weapon. She opened the folder Case 734 Final Act. Hundreds of files lay neatly arranged, each name, each date, each photo, each message, but this time, Claire didn't plan to simply expose the truth. She would tell it so that everyone would connect the pieces themselves and realize how deeply they'd been deceived. She began composing separate emails, one for her father, one for her mother, and others for each relative close enough to have believed the facade. Email to her father. Subject: about the investment Ethan once mentioned. She attached the bank statements with a short note. "Dad, you once lent Ethan $5,000 for that medical project, didn't you? Here's where that money actually went. I thought you had a right to know." Her father, a man of discipline, proud and pragmatic, valued honor above all. Claire knew that when he saw the trail of transfers leading from their joint account straight into one under the name Lily Marshall, he would understand this wasn't just betrayal. It was the theft of trust itself. Email to her mother. Subject: Mom, I'm sorry for what I'm about to make you see. Claire inserted screenshots of text messages, the ones where Lily used helping Mom clean the house as an excuse to cover her meetings with Ethan. "I know you've always believed Lily and I were still close as sisters. But sometimes, love blinds us to those who weaponize affection. Please don't blame yourself. They built their lies carefully, so you'd never doubt them." She paused for a moment. Tears fell onto the keyboard, but she didn't wipe them away. The pain didn't need hiding anymore. It belonged there, among the evidence that could no longer be denied. Email to her relatives. Subject: the truth about the marriage everyone once admired. If anyone tells you I've lost my mind, or that I've become bitter, please read carefully. I don't need sympathy, only that you understand what really happened. She attached a file named The Lie We All Believed. Inside was a full timeline: photos, messages, transactions, no emotion, no accusations, just the cold precision of a case report. When she clicked Save Draft, her phone buzzed a text from her father. "Claire, don't forget my 65th birthday dinner this Sunday. The whole family will be there." She stared at the words for a long time. Her father's birthday, once a symbol of warmth and togetherness, was about to become the stage of revelation. Claire smiled faintly, whispering into the dark. Perfect. A dinner, a full audience, and 2 directors ready to walk straight into the play they wrote themselves. She opened her calendar and circled the date in red. Then she returned to her screen and set the emails to send later, 8:15 p.m., the moment the candles would be lit. Before shutting the laptop, she murmured a final seal on her plan. "I don't need to scream. I just need their silence when they see themselves reflected in the mirror of truth." Outside, the night was still. Only the soft tick of the clock filled the room. and the golden light brushed across Claire's calm face. No rage, no tears, only the unshakable certainty of a woman who finally understood. When truth is revealed, liars destroy themselves with the nightmares they created. William's 65th birthday unfolded beneath warm golden lights, the scent of grilled meat mingling with the familiar aroma of wine. Everything looked just as it had at every family gathering before, noisy, cheerful, full of laughter. But only Claire knew by the end of tonight, every smile would fade. Lily entered the living room in an ivory dress, makeup so polished it almost looked innocent. Ethan followed, crisp white shirt, gentle, perfectly practiced smile, pouring wine and shaking hands like the ideal son-in-law. Claire stood quietly in a corner, fingers resting on a glass of water, eyes fixed on them, the two traitors performing their roles as the perfect couple before their unsuspecting family audience. "Sweetheart, you look tired," her mother asked softly. "I'm fine, Mom. Just a little tense," Claire replied with a calm smile, her eyes tender, like the dutiful daughter she'd always been. Ethan walked over, his voice light, as if the air itself belonged to him. "Shall we begin? You still remember your dad's favorite song, don't you?" "Of course," Claire said, her gaze slicing through him. "I remember everything." As the chatter died down, Ethan gently tapped his spoon against his wineglass. Ting! The sound echoed through the crowded room. Everyone turned toward him, waiting the familiar sight of a man about to make one of his grand announcements. The proposal, the new house, the promotion. But this time, Ethan was about to announce his own downfall. "There's something I'd like to share," he began, voice trembling with counterfeit emotion. "It's not easy to say this, but Lily and I, we've found each other in a way no one could have expected. We're in love." The table went dead silent. A sharp clang of cutlery hit a plate. Claire's mother froze. Her father's brow knotted so tightly a vein rose along his temple. Lily lowered her head, shoulders shaking. It was hard to tell if from shame or flawless acting. All eyes turned to Claire. They waited for tears, for the scream, the shattered glass, the rage. But Claire simply set her glass down, her gaze calm, detached, glacial. Her voice was soft, but each word cut through the air like a blade. "Everyone, please check your emails. Right now." In an instant, a ripple of confusion spread around the table. Phones buzzed, ding, buzz, ping, the sound filling the silence. Ethan frowned. "What's this?" Claire slowly reached into her bag, pulling out her small silver laptop, the lid reflecting the flicker of candlelight. "I think you know exactly what this is, Ethan. Everyone here deserves to see it." She clicked once, and dozens of emails went out, each with its own attachment. Father, proof, PDF, mother, truth, zip, family, timeline, doc, X. On every phone, the truth bloomed: photos, messages, transfers, receipts, the venomous jokes they'd shared about her behind her back. "Oh my God," her mother whispered, trembling. "Ethan, what the hell is this?" her father growled, standing up sharply. Lily's face went white, her voice breaking. What did you do, Claire?" "Not much, Lily," Claire said softly, her tone as gentle as ever. "I just told the story you both tried so hard to hide, but this time I let everyone hear it." Ethan stiffened, his composure cracking. You violated my privacy. That's a crime." "No," Claire interrupted, her voice low, steady. "This is the truth. And truth doesn't need privacy, Ethan. It only needs to be seen." The room fell still. Only the steady vibration of phones filled the silence, like the dying heartbeat of something once alive. Then her father spoke from the head of the table, his voice hoarse. "Claire, come outside with me. Let me handle these two." She nodded, slipped on her coat, and turned toward the door. Before stepping out, she paused, looked back once more. You're right, Ethan, she said quietly. It's never easy to say the hard things. But you know what? Sometimes silence is the cruelest answer of all. The door closed behind her. Inside, the storm began to break. Outside, Claire stepped down the porch steps, the cold wind brushing through her hair, and for the first time in years, she felt it. Freedom. The warm dining room, moments ago filled with laughter, now felt as heavy as a courtroom. No one spoke for the first few seconds. Only the faint buzz of phones broke the silence, their glowing screens casting pale light across faces drained of color and disbelief. William, Claire's father, was the first to speak. His voice dropped low, weighted like stone. Ethan, are these things true? Ethan shot to his feet, forcing a smile, his throat tight. Sir, this is a violation of privacy. She hacked my accounts, she fabricated spliced things together. Enough. William's voice cut through the room like ice. Everyone fell silent. He set his phone down, eyes sharp and unwavering. My daughter is a digital forensics specialist. She doesn't invent evidence, she uncovers the truth. Ethan's mouth opened, but no words came. Elaine, Claire's mother, trembling, scrolled through her phone, hands shaking as she read each line. Lily, she whispered. You called your sister a self-righteous fool hiding behind her own mask? Lily burst into tears. I didn't mean it that way, Mom. I just betrayed your own sister? Elaine's voice broke. Anger and sorrow tangled in her tears. God, Lily, do you even remember who took you in when you lost your job? Ethan tried to seize control again. Okay, everyone calm down, he said, his voice sharp with panic. Every relationship has two sides. Claire and I drifted apart long ago, and we just found a way to feel again. Feelings? A cold voice came from the far end of the table, Aunt Mary. She lifted her phone, narrowing her eyes. This is what you call feelings? She's too busy to notice I could screw her sister right on the kitchen counter. Your words, Ethan. Want to deny your own handwriting too? Ethan froze. No excuse could erase those words. They hung in the air like a verdict. The atmosphere shattered. Chairs scraped harshly against the floor. Someone sobbed into their hands. Lily collapsed forward, crying like a child. I'm sorry, Claire. I didn't know it would turn out like this. I just wanted to be loved. Claire looked at her for a long time. There was no rage left in her eyes, only the hollow calm of someone who had survived the storm. Did you find love, Lily? She asked softly. Or are you living in the same illusion he built for you, the one I once lived in too? Ethan turned toward her, eyes burning with fear and fury. You destroyed everything, Claire! You turned everyone against me! Claire's smile was faint, almost tender. No, Ethan, you did that yourself. I just turned on the light so everyone could see. Her father rose, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. Claire, you don't need to stay here. You've endured enough. Let me handle what's left. She nodded gently, then turned to the others. I'm sorry for ruining your birthday dinner, Dad. No. William shook his head. You saved it from hypocrisy. As Claire walked toward the door, the sound of shouting broke out behind her. Lily's voice, cracked with sobs, cried out, Ethan, are you happy now? They all hate me because of you. Shut up, Ethan shouted. This is your fault, you stupid. Enough! Elaine's voice roared, raw with fury. Don't you dare speak to my daughter like that! No one wants to hear another word from you! The door closed behind Claire, sealing off the chaos. Outside, the night wind swept through her hair, cold, sharp, but clean. She inhaled deeply, her shoulders finally free of their invisible weight. Her father followed, placing a hand on her back. You did the right thing, Claire. I'm proud of you. I just said what needed to be said, she replied, eyes lifting toward the starlit sky, not to get revenge, but to end it. From the house, the golden light glowed through the window. Inside, Lily's small frame slumped over the table, while Ethan stood motionless, alone beneath the burning stares of the family. A birthday dinner meant for celebration had become a tribunal of truth. Claire stepped down the stone path, the crunch of gravel soft beneath her shoes. For the first time in years, she felt no fear. She simply smiled, a smile both aching and serene. "They took my peace," she whispered, "but tonight I took it back without guns, without tears, only with the truth." The night wind of Atlanta brushed through Claire's hair, carrying away the faint trace of perfume lingering on her collar. She stood outside her parents' house, where the golden light still spilled through the windows, illuminating the silhouettes of those still arguing inside. But those sounds, the accusations, the sobs, the frantic whys no longer reached her. Claire pulled her coat tighter and looked up at the night sky. Amid the vast darkness, a few stars flickered, faint but persistent, much like her, bruised, battered, but never completely extinguished. The next morning, the soft hum of a coffee machine filled the law office, rhythmic and steady, like a heartbeat calming itself. Claire sat upright, pen in hand, signing the thick stack of papers before her. "Today," said attorney Naomi Lighton, her voice calm and warm, "is the first step toward your new life." Claire signed the final page, folded the documents neatly. "Thank you, Naomi. I thought I'd be trembling, but I just feel light." Naomi smiled knowingly. "You fought for too long. When we walk through hell, the sky afterward always feels quieter." Claire chuckled softly. "That sounds like something I should embroider on a pillow." "You actually should," Naomi teased. "And the next time you come see me, it won't be for a divorce, it'll be to tell me about your first trip after freedom." Claire nodded. "Deal." That afternoon, she moved into her new apartment on the north side of the city, a small but sunlit space, its balcony facing the Atlanta skyline. Boxes stacked neatly in corners. A laptop on the wooden table, a small vase of lavender. When she opened the balcony door, the November wind rushed in, carrying the scent of rain-washed air. She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. It felt like breathing for the first time after years of holding her breath in fear. On the table lay the old USB labeled Case 734. Claire picked it up, turning it between her fingers. She remembered every file, every sleepless night, every keystroke in the dark while her heart ached coldly. Everything inside that USB told the story of a woman who had loved, been betrayed, and finally risen. She plugged it in. The folders appeared. Emails, photos, evidence, timeline, audio, recordings, each word a fragment of the past. Her cursor hovered over delete. 1 second, 2. She drew a slow breath, then clicked. "Are you sure you want to permanently delete case 734? "Yes." The soft click sounded small, yet inside her, it was the crack of a chain breaking. That evening, Claire sat on the floor, her back against the wall, surrounded by half-open boxes. Beside her, a mug of peppermint tea steamed gently, its aroma wrapping the room like a quiet embrace. Her phone buzzed a message from Tasha, her best friend. "Just saw Lily's update. She deleted all her social media. Ethan's been suspended from work. You won, Claire." Claire stared at the screen for a moment, then set the phone down and smiled. "Tasha, this isn't winning. It's just finally stopping losing." A week later, Claire returned to work for the first time since everything ended. Colleagues greeted her with a mix of empathy and admiration. She walked into her office, sunlight streaming across her composed face. A new computer sat on her desk, clean, blank, untouched by the ghosts of old files. Ryan, the co-worker Ethan, had once falsely framed as her affair, knocked gently on the door. "Welcome back, Claire," she smiled. "Thanks. I owe you an apology, for getting dragged into my mess." Ryan shrugged, grinning. "I'm used to being a side character in a soap opera, but this one was an award-winning drama." They both laughed. For the first time, Claire's laughter didn't fracture halfway through. That afternoon, her phone rang her father's voice, steady and warm. "Claire, are you doing all right?" "Better than you'd think, Dad. Your mother and I still haven't spoken to Lily. But when you're ready—" "Dad," she interrupted gently, "don't worry. Forgiving isn't forgetting. It's just choosing to stop letting pain take the wheel. I'm learning that." Silence. Then, softly, "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." As the sun dipped behind the buildings, the final light of day brushed across Claire's face. She poured more tea and sat on the balcony, watching the city ignite with evening lights. The hum of traffic, the whisper of wind, the rhythm of life all pulsing around her, carrying stories of people moving forward. Claire whispered to herself, almost smiling. "I used to think marriage was the destination. Turns out, it was just one stretch of the road. And freedom is home." Night fell. She opened her laptop and created a new folder. Chapter 1, Me. Inside, she began to type the first lines of the book she would one day finish, not a tragedy, but a testament to rebirth. "I once thought I'd lost everything. But when I lost all that was false, I found the one thing real myself." The rhythmic tapping of keys filled the quiet room. Outside, the wind carried the scent of lavender, the same flower Lily once gave her, now stripped of pain, a simple fragrance of closure. Morning. Claire woke to a clear sky. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the curtains, painting the walls gold. She tied her hair back, opened a window. A sparrow perched on the railing, chirping softly, a small greeting to a new beginning. She made her coffee, adding exactly 2 spoonfuls of sugar the way Ethan once said was too sweet. "So what?" she smiled. "At least now I drink it the way I like." A video call lit up her screen, Tasha's face beaming. "So, are we celebrating or what?" "Celebrating what?" "Freedom. Gorgeous. Freedom, womanhood, and justice. Obviously." Claire laughed. All right. But only if you bring cake and promise not to mention men. Deal!" Tasha raised her hand, like she was signing a peace treaty. That afternoon, the two sat in Claire's apartment, sipping wine and listening to soft jazz. Tasha tilted her head. "So, what now?" Claire looked out the window, the sky shifting from orange to violet. "Right," she said, voice steady. "And live. Not to get revenge, not to prove anything. Just to live truthfully." Tasha smiled. "That sounds like the end of a movie." "Maybe," Claire shrugged lightly. "But this time, I'm the director." That night, as the city shimmered under its lights, Claire stepped out onto her balcony again. She lifted her teacup, toasting quietly to herself. Case 734 is closed, and I have opened the first chapter of my life. The evening breeze caressed her face, city lights glimmering in her eyes like 1,000 small stars. No more tears, no more fear. Only peace, the richest thing a human can own. Final scene. The camera pulls back Claire, sitting in her small apartment, sunset light spilling across the walls, her laptop open on a blank page. She places her hands on the keyboard, smiles. "I'll be all right." Fade out. Text on screen. When a woman learns to rise, the whole world around her changes.